human.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. All rise. I'm just kidding. You don't have to stand up. Covenant Court is now in session. Welcome back. Covenant Court is now in session. The defendant is an Alec Bohunk Lewis of Anniston, Alabama.
What an awful name.
The discovery made by the Covenant Court includes malice aforethought with tweets, stories, podcasts, and spreading false narratives leading to unruly crowds of Minnesota Vikings fans subsequently and potentially picketing and or boycotting the Friday football feast. The firm of Lewis and Feldman out of Birmingham, Alabama, has deemed Bohunk not guilty of these charges that we are about to try. Alec Bohunk Lewis, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Covenant Court is now in session. I'm the judge. You are the jury. The prosecutor is Eric Nordquist, and here is case number one.
Indeed, as I mentioned this yesterday, 9 to noon, the prosecution approaches the bench with the following evidence that might contain subtle libel as well as market manipulation.
I wouldn't laugh if I were you. They might deem you guilty.
So here is a quote from Alec Lewis in a recent article via The Athletic. Cheap subscriptions around Christmas time.
It's like $1 a month for 12. Yeah.
Mr. Prosecutor, please don't talk to the witness during the course of Covenant Court.
But seriously, though, it's good.
It's a phenomenal subscription.
Keep up the great work.
Michael Russo.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the quote from Alec Lewis in relation to wide receiver Jordan Addison. At a time like this, when the Vikings are staring down some serious roster reworking, it prompts a question. Is paying him, as in Jordan Addison, a no-brainer? Now, again, whether it's defamation and libel as it relates to the implication that the roster actually needs any reworking, are you kidding me? 5-8 fatigue, though.
Members of the jury, please listen closely. This is very serious stuff.
And the Securities and Exchange Commission worrying market manipulation possibly in the mix here. The potential contract value of Jordan Addison as you question whether or not he should be paid. The prosecution is looking for answers, looking for truth, and looking for a decision from the jury.
That is a charge of bloviating and blaspheming the gridiron gospel. But most importantly, it's a charge of tearing down Vikings fans when we come at this from 5-8. And you're torn down as it is.
Aren't you the judge? I don't understand why you're selling.
That's a very good point. Strike from the record, please, court reporter, everything the judge just said.
But you strike it.
Order in the court now, everybody, darn it. Alec Bohunk Lewis, Anniston, Alabama, represented by the firm of Lewis and Feldman. What say you with the charges placed against you?
Yeah, I wrote a story about Jordan Addison and the forthcoming conversation that probably we're going to have about Jordan Addison's in the extension. I mean, he's going to become extension eligible this upcoming offseason.
Fifth-year option decision,
too,
right?
Fifth-year option decision. That's probably more of a no-brainer. But as far as the extension, the idea of paying Jordan Addison a premium when they're going to have to do a lot from a roster standpoint, have a lot of holes they have to fill, and you factor in Jordan Addison's drops this year. He's had 7 drops. That's as many as he's had the rest of his career. You factor in some of the off-field stuff. I really just wanted to pose the question, is paying Jordan Addison a no-brainer, or should the Vikings use some of the funds they would use to pay him on other areas of the roster that they might need additions?
Members of the jury, what you need to parse between here is that Missouri-raised journalism, or is Alec Bohunk Lewis attempting to fix the race and continue to pile on Vikings fans from 5-8 with one of their potentially favorite players, Jordan Addison, having everybody get down on him in the comments.
Yeah.
The comments is where we get most of the discovery. Because if that's the case, then he, in essence, is skewing the opinions and the adoration or lack thereof of the fan base. And that would be bloviating and blaspheming the gridiron gospel.
It's pretty reckless to just pose a question to a fan base that is looking for their own answers as well.
No doubt.
And we also, jury, need to factor in, is the journalist from Missouri worried about getting answers to that question, or is he just frustrated that instead of going to watch Alabama get housed by Oklahoma, he has to find flights and hotel stays at MetLife?
Does the prosecution rest?
Yes.
The prosecution has rested. Does the defendant have anything else that he would like to share?
I just feel like you're the judge, but you're kind of like with the prosecution.
Well, no, it's 2 hours into the Friday football feast. The average blood alcohol count of this jury is about 0.06. So therefore, we're having higher. Hey,
there we go.
Welcome to Covenant Corp. So we just wanted
they're an intimate group, but a committed group.
We just wanted to make sure they're getting the layering and the context of what's transpiring.
Right. You're progressing from one segment to the other. Really.
So as we streamline a decision here, do we find Alec Bohunk Lewis of Anniston, Alabama, represented by the law firm of Lewis and Feldman? Do we find him guilty of charges to sway the Vikings fan base in lieu or to enhance the amount of views, likes, and reposts that he potentially gets, thus bringing you down when you're already down?
You know me.
If you find him guilty, make noise. Do you find Alec Bohunk Lewis to be not guilty of all charges, and that the prosecution, in essence, has been the bloviating firm and is taking a crouton and making a metaphorical chef salad out of it? If you find Alec Bohunk Lewis to be not guilty, please make noise. Alec Lewis, you have been charged on several counts of attempting to sway the Vikings fan base to that of negativity.
You seem happy about it,
which
Judge.
makes you a lemming within the media industry, and you are the cow running away from the storm. You're not the bison running into it and taking it on. He's guilty. Can I get a witness and a raucous round of applause from the Covenant? Prosecutor.
Oh, 1 for 1.
I guess I'm not a cow running away from.
Prosecutor.
Yes.
What is your next case? Oh, by the way, Alec will be tried next week at Buffalo Wild Wings. He'll be charged, and the sentencing will come down next week at Buffalo Wild Wings, wherever we are.
Yeah, you've been winning on appeals, just the ability for you to show up today. So
correct.
That's a good point.
Well, he's shackled from head to toe, 25 with a Nizel, and he knows.
Now, full disclosure, we're going to have to start stretching on these bits for week to week.
I was going to say, you're going to need a performance that's going to get me to say some stuff.
Did the prosecution just pull for the Minnesota Vikings to lose to Dallas in a very ugly performance to best enhance and amplify Covenant Court at a Friday football feast? That's a case to be tried some other time.
That is correct.
Mr. Prosecutor, what case do you present for the jury?
The next case is it's basically, I don't know what the charge is for confusing and making people feel dumb. But here it is from an ex-post. I believe this was 3 days ago, and it was at night. Fans, again, just trying to parse their way through
Mr.
Kevin O'Connell's press conferences and his... Yes.
Mr. Prosecutor, what does it being at night have to do with any part of the discovery?
It's when I saw it. I was just giving the time.
Are you making the assumption that, like the majority of the people here in court at Buffalo Wild Wings Plymouth, that his blood alcohol account may have been above the legal limit when he said tweet?
That is completely possible.
Thank you.
Although it was a school night. It was a school night, and he's responsible, Alec.
That will be added to the discovery.
He posted on X, pure progression Twitter might be the best Twitter. And so the prosecution is sitting here as everyone has become fascinated, obsessed, and utterly confused by the nature of pure progression versus reading and learning coverage. The prosecution's charge is simply that a member of the media is... Yeah.
Order in the court. Ma'am, in the jury, get off that man's lap. This is a very serious situation that's transpiring, and I just made that up, and all of you men turned your heads super quickly. Holy cow. Anyway, let's continue.
The charge is that a member of the media is intentionally using an overcomplicated conversation regarding the offense and the development of a quarterback to get clicks and sound like a bigger expert in said overcomplicated offensive idea than maybe he really is. That is the charge from the prosecution.
On the charge of @Alec_Lewis via Twitter. It's another charge of bloviating for your best interest and not the best interest of your followers,
of course,
the readers, and subsequently the Minnesota Vikings fan base. How do you respond to said charges?
Yeah, the pure progression stuff that has become a conversation this week, I don't really see how it has much application to JJ and his play. For me, it's just been an interesting subject because I like learning about football. Just like when I covered baseball, I like learning about the game and kind of the inner workings of how the parts are put together. So it's been cool for me this week to hear from Wes Phillips and Kevin O'Connell and everyone else.
It's good,
who's talked about pure progression. Give their lens on it. But for me, it's not. I don't mind it. I haven't been trying to confuse anybody. But some people love learning about the game. That's where I'm at, and that's what it's been this week, Judge.
Mr. Prosecutor,
kind of went aw shucks on it. I almost believe him.
The judge has a question.
It was a tactic from Lewis and Feldman.
The judge has a question for you.
Yeah.
The question would be: it is believed, and the court has been made aware, that Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner was the lead on this, so to speak, scribe-related act of terrorism.
That is correct.
Well, Alex,
stop! Order in the court! And the defendant, Alec Bohunk Lewis, Anniston, Alabama, was an accomplice.
Right.
An accomplice used to spread the subterfuge.
There we go.
Throughout the upper Midwest. Is that part of your discovery, sir?
It is indeed part of it because Kurt Warner had gotten on X. Everyone reviews film now, and Kurt Warner says that you have to learn how to read the coverages themselves. And then Dan Orlovsky and, of course, the defendant, Alec Lewis, and all these others, they're just in love, and they're fawning over, and they're sitting there just with the puppy dog eyes listening to the expertise on pure progression.
I'm not sure the eyes are necessary.
And Mr. Prosecutor, keep the emotion out of it and stay to the facts, please.
And they're saying the pure progression side is, Hatfield's and McCoy's, is saying, well, we want to scheme against those coverages and have open window answers, and then along the way you will learn the coverage. So it seems like it's just a simple teaching tool that has gotten blown out of conversational proportion.
Yeah.
And I think that a member of the media has some blame for that.
Mr. Prosecutor, do you have any other evidence to present?
On a different case, yes, but not on this particular one.
Mr. Defendant, do you have anything else you would like to utilize to defend yourself?
No, I feel like I've done a good job of that.
Okay. Jury, in the second case of Alec Bohunk Lewis of Anniston, Alabama, where Hatfields marry Hatfields and McCoys marry McCoys. Well, that really has nothing to do with the case number 2. So
just wanted to point that out.
We're going to strike that from the record. The case against Alec Lewis for, in subterfuge-like fashion, spreading pure progression-related terrorism.
Yes.
That was started by somebody else.
Still started by Kevin O'Connell in the press conference.
The case has been dropped. The prosecution has lost. The defendant is free to go. The case has been dropped. Can I get a witness and a raucous round? It was propaganda. The judge deems the whole pure progression stuff is propaganda, and the defendant is free to leave.
You kind of wish the real justice system worked like this.
Here, here, ladies and gentlemen. Covenant Court is now in session. Please respect the court. Mr. Prosecutor, Is this your final case against Alec Bohunk Lewis of Anniston, Alabama?
Yeah, it is indeed. And sadly, without invoking his Fifth Amendment rights, the defendant incriminated himself off air here about 15 minutes ago.
Okay, off-air conversations are very dicey for the jury because they were not publicly shared. They were not written for the public to absorb.
It's true.
And they were not tweeted at Alec_Lewis via the X machine. And they're also not painted on the back of Alec Lewis Show podcast shirts, 9 to noon. Never knew that he had.
Yeah.
And we each sure would like one. But nevertheless, we're going to take the emotion out of the situation. So,
Judge, are you all right?
Yeah. Order in the court. So, jury, please respect the fact that hearsay is about to be delivered. Prosecutor, take it away.
Yes, off air, Alec Lewis informed me that on his own podcast, The Alec Lewis Show, available on YouTube, apparently the T-shirts aren't available, wouldn't mind one, it is the Christmas season, he alerted his listeners to the fact that Dallas Turner, loving Dallas Turner and potentially his evolution within the Vikings defense, sacks in 3 games in a row. I think he's tied for the team lead in sacks with 5.5, unless that changed during the Commanders tilt. He said on the podcast, everyone's loving Dallas Turner, but the tape says otherwise. And so my charge against the member of the media is simply spreading false information about the ascension of a second-year Alabama kid.
A noted bloviator.
Who's only 22 years old and hasn't gotten a lot of games, and he's behind high-end talent in Grenard and Van Ginkel, and we're talking about sacks on Sunday night, and he thinks Clowney's going to have a 3-piece, and meanwhile he is clowning on Dallas Turner. I think that's preposterous, and he should be charged for it.
Mr. Lewis, how do you respond to these charges?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dallas Turner, you've seen the flashes of the athleticism and the explosiveness, and he has had a few splash plays, but if you watch the film down to down, some of those splash plays have come against tight ends who you should beat as an edge rusher from a pass rush perspective. Some of them came against, in the Bears game, believe it was Ozzie Trapulo or Theo Benedette or whoever he beat around the edge.
It was Cole Kmet about half
Cole
the game.
Kmet and then Theo Benedette. So he's winning against backup tackles. And then really against the Commanders, I didn't notice Dallas Turner one time rewatching the film as really making much of an impact in the game. And so I just feel like, yes, hopefully he's still young. He has had some splash plays. That's all very positive, but down to down, I'm not sure he's making a meaningful, massive impact that you really need to see from a guy when you allocate the draft capital to go up and trade for him.
Mr. Prosecutor, please define the charge against Alec Bohunk Lewis.
Felonious intentional contrarianism is the charge. Now, and this is in vogue, being Buffalo Wild Wings Plymouth, and the former longtime co-host was the king of felonious intentional contrarianism at times.
Somebody caught
Paul
in
Charchian.
St. George.
Well, he's listening right now from a rest stop somewhere. So intentional contrarianism would be the prosecution's charge.
Does the prosecution rest?
Yes, rest.
Does the defendant have any other evidence to offer?
No, I'm exhausted.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury at Buffalo Wild Wings Plymouth for Covenant Corp., the defendant, Alec Lewis, has been charged with purposely sharing misinformation to, in essence, throw cold water on progression that finally is taking place with a 22-year-old linebacker named Dallas Turner. So it basically comes down to this, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Do you feel Dallas Turner has put good plays on film this year at age 22 and mostly down to down? Somebody with whom you would like to roll, certainly into next year, but during the course of his career. And by the way, it also
I'm not sure that's the
evidence also needs to be shared.
He's the judge.
Dallas played at the University of Alabama.
He did.
Now, there's evidence that's been provided to us late off conversation earlier today on the Friday Football Feast that the defendant is so down on his college football program.
Correct.
There are players here, there, and everywhere catching strays on the podcast. The same podcast where none of us have shirts except 3 people over there.
Not fair.
So, members of the jury, do you feel Alec Bohunk Lewis should be prosecuted and charged for purposely and feloniously attempting to run down the career of Dallas Turner? Or do you believe what he is saying is accurate and more is required from the 22-year-old linebacker? Is more required, thus not guilty? Should he be prosecuted for trying to run down Dallas Turner because he's pissed off at Alabama football and 15 caught the stray? Alec Lewis,
All we wanted was a freaky T-shirt.
you've been convicted of bloviating and spreading false narratives involving Dallas Turner, and you will be sentenced next week at Buffalo Wild Wings somewhere. And finally, ladies and gentlemen,
Do we not know where we're at?
the court just received some very late breaking information that involves Alec Bohunk Lewis of Anderson,
I
Alabama.
just yelled bloviator.
Feldman already is gone, but John Lewis is still here to defend him. Alec Bohunk Lewis is charged with feeding information to an accomplice named Mike Sando, also of The Athletic.
Insider trading.
And with this insider trading, it was designed to severely harm the hope and faith of the Minnesota fan base.
What did I do?
In that he wants to, and that the fan base wants to have in J.J. McCarthy. Alec is charged with bloviating with the term mechanical urgency. The slanderous phrase was provided to an accomplice named Mike Sando, and optimism thus has swayed away from McCarthy due to something called mechanical urgency.
Judge, can you be more clear?
And public tension is emerging. It also was shared, quote, Minnesota was running out of quarterback narratives and should not promote a new one now, end quote, off the most positive moment of J.J. McCarthy's professional career.
I didn't say anything.
The court believes this is a lingering result of past transgressions against fellow athletic bloviators who swung and missed during the Aaron Rodgers saga and now are hunkering down against all of you and us with hashtag Faith Radio and the Minnesota fan base, and the negativity is running rampant. How do you respond to that,
Are you?
Mr. Lewis?
You're the worst judge of
Were you? Or you can't call me the worst judge. You're out. That's it. The segment's over. He's convicted. He's in contempt of court, ladies and gentlemen. Can I get a witness and a raucous round of applause? We're going to charge you and convict you and throw away the key all the way from here to Anniston.
How did you?
As an accomplice to Mike Sando at The Athletic.
Mike does a column every week called the Pick Six.
Yeah.
I don't see what's in it. I flip up my Athletic app on Monday morning and I'm like, oh, Mike wrote about JJ. All right, that's how it goes. But if you read my story on JJ from after the game, it was
Effusive.
It was effusive in my praise.
Yeah.
It was very good to see JJ McCarthy, given all that he's navigated this year, have the game that he had on Sunday. That was very positive. And I can't wait to be there Sunday night to see if he can continue and further that consistency on Sunday night.
Objection. Now's not the time for this. You can request a new trial.
Objection sustained.
At a later date.
Judge, you're like a judge.
Objection upheld. Let him continue.
Judge, you're like a judge.
Stop it. You're in contempt of the court again. Objection upheld. Anything else?
You're nuts.
No, you're nuts.
Prosecution is
because you're going to jail and you've got to deal with them. All right, Covenant Court's out of session. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, give yourselves a round of applause for your attentiveness, your convictions, and the conviction with your convictions. This is 9 to noon. Young Alec Lewis from The Athletic, theathletic.com, at Alec_Lewis. Does
out on bail.
Work with his Twitter. He prepares a doc for himself, but document for 9 to noon weekly. It's voluminous.
It is.
It's voluminous, and it's detailed and well thought out. And we will dissect that doc every so often. This week, it really comes down to just one point from the document We're going to dissect a point from the doc, and here's Nordo.
Yeah, you mentioned in the doc Eric Wilson and all those pressures, and just kind of the unique part of him being an off-ball linebacker and creating some of that pressure it's just unheard of how he's being used right now, Eric Wilson in the NFL. How does that translate to affecting Dak, who is also very good against the blitz?
Yeah, he is. I mean, Eric Wilson, I asked Brian Flores earlier this week in the press conference, is there a player that reminds him from an arc perspective of what Eric Wilson's been able to do in terms of at 31 years old, finally getting the opportunity and performing the way he has? And Flores really struggled to come up with one. He mentioned Zach Bond, who's obviously really been great for the Philadelphia Eagles the last couple of years, but even Zach is younger.
But maybe maybe he was thinking like career resurrection point where Bond kind of emerged from obscurity with the Philly Eagles.
No doubt. But Eric Wilson, what the Vikings have really done is they've begun to just fire their linebackers at the quarterback, and it's Blake Cashman and it's Eric Wilson, and those guys are kind of slanting and moving around one another and have really been able to get at quarterbacks who like to step up in the pocket. Dak Prescott is one of them. What's interesting about Dak is he's played for so long and he has so much experience against cover zero, against some of these blitzes, that he will likely have tools to respond to some of this stuff. Their center is younger in Cooper Beebe, but playing that game, the game
Javonte can pick up a blitz. He's good for them now.
Javonte Williams, the running back, is a good pass protector. So that how Brian Flores tries to get at Dak Prescott in this game is really interesting to me, because I said this earlier in the show. Dak Prescott, for my money, is playing probably top 7 quarterback play in the NFL right now. He's doing a lot of it with his mind. They've done a lot of under center play action. So it's going to be a challenge for sure. And how Brian Flores tries to get at Dak is interesting. The quick thing I'll mention too, Brian Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams. Clayton Adams is their offensive coordinator. This week in the media, they've had a lot of comments about Brian Flores and the defense, and they are very aware of what this challenge is and what they're going to need to bring to be able to answer this challenge. So, again, Cowboys offense, Vikings defense is a really, really good matchup, a really fun one that I'm looking forward to.
Speaking of fun, there are some really fun NFL games this weekend, including the Vikings at Dallas for local purposes. So who wins and why? We'll handle that in our final segment. It's The Feast, Buffalo Wild Wings Plymouth on KFAN. All right, minute and change to go. Buffalo Wild Wings Plymouth. Hey, make sure if you're so inclined to tip the waiters or waitresses and servers and bartenders. They get here super early to make sure everything is copacetic for the Friday football feast. So reward them if you are so inclined. Wonderful, wonderful staff here. Derek's the manager. He's been here forever, and he's fantastic at what he does. We love coming to Buffalo Wild Wings Plymouth. Make sure you tip the servers and the bartenders exponentially if you're so inclined. Who wins and why? Green Bay at Denver.
Man, that's the fans. The crowd says Denver. I'm going to take Green Bay. I think they're really.
Nordo?
I'm going to take the Broncos in that defense. I'm actually surprised Pack are favored at Mile High. Maybe I shouldn't be.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, Alec Lewis has been charged with rooting for the Green Bay Packers. Is he guilty or not guilty? Thank you. Yeah. Secondly, L.A. Chargers at Kansas City. Who do we like?
Kansas City, back against the wall. Chargers offensive line is a mess. Chargers are good, and the defense is really good. The D coordinator's really good, but Chiefs.
Detroit at Rams.
Rams are going to win. High-scoring game. Rams handle the kiddies.
Bills at Pats.
Oof, this one's tough. I'm going to say Pats. Drake May.
I'm going to say Bills, Josh Allen.
Vikings at Dallas Cowboys. Nordo, you first.
Vikings, of course.
Alec.
Why wouldn't we say that with McCarthy, right?
Okay, thank you for
all right, that's all the time we have.
Alec Bohunk Lewis, stop. Thank you. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for listening to KFAN. Thank you for coming to the Friday Football Feast. Derek, thank you, brother. Appreciate you very much. Love when we get a chance to come here. Nick Madden, Street Team, ladies and gentlemen, second to none. Jared Wells, second to none. That's Alec Lewis. He's Nordo, and I'm Paul Allen. Thank you very much for listening to 9 to noon when you do. Chat with you Sunday about 7:20, FM 100.3, KFAN for the boom!
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.